I distinctly remember the first time I ever recorded with a band with proper equipment. I laid a guitar part down, and the engineer, who was also the bass player, turns to me and he's like, "Sounds great. Do it again." And I was like, "What? Why?" But he gives me that look like, "Just trust me." Like Aladdin. "Do you trust me? I can show you the world." So he creates a new track. I play the part again. He pans one track all the way to one side, the other track all the way to the other side, and what comes out of the speakers blew my mind. It was that power punk, hard rock, classic rock, all of the guitar-driven music that I loved was coming through the speakers. It was that pro sound. What's up, music makers? It's Luke from Sojourner Tracks, and I am super excited about today's topic, which is stacking guitars. As a guitarist, it's one of my favorite parts of the production process. Get that thick, bad sound that we're used to in classic and in modern rock. If you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, I would really appreciate if you would do so. Leave me a comment below. Let me know what you thought about the content today. I would strongly suggest you put on some headphones for this one because I'm going to be doing left and right. You can really hear what's going on better if you do that. But let's just dive into Logic and see what we've got going on. So I've got a song pulled up here called Scales and Arpeggios that I've been working on. This is just a brief section of it. We've got bass, drums, a little bit of E-piano, and the guitar part. And I recorded this on my Epiphone Sheraton. It's what I really want the guitars to sound like, but it's lacking some body and some character, some thickness. So you'll notice that. I'm going to play through it here in a minute. You'll notice as of right now, I've got it panned up the center. I'm just using Logic amps. This is the AC30, and I've got a couple pedals going here as well. Let's give this a listen. This video is by no means an exhaustive deep dive. There are so many different ways that you can go about guitar stacking. I just want to talk about 3 different methodologies that will hopefully inspire you as you create your next guitar production. And the first thing I want to talk about is duplication. And by duplication, I mean the same part, the same rhythm, but I do not mean a copy and paste. So as we go through this video, in every single instance, I'm going to suggest you change one thing about the second guitar, whether it be the guitar itself, or the pickup that you're using, the amp that you're using, the pedals that you're using. It's going to help you avoid some phase issues, and it also just adds character. So I'm going to grab my telly. I've got a different amp pulled up here in Logic. I'm going to pan the Sheraton all the way to the left, and I'm going to pan my telly all the way to the right. Duplication is going to be great for those busy productions. You've already got a lot of stuff going on. You don't have a lot of extra room for more sonic characteristics. So an exact duplication gives you that width and depth without taking up a lot of extra space. If you have a more guitar-driven song, you might want to try doubling. And there are ways to double your guitar track without doing an exact duplication. One of those ways is doing an octave up or an octave down of the original part. One of my favorite ways to do a double that is not an exact copy is to use power chords over the fifth. It just creates like this great heaviness. So if you had a regular power chord, which, like a D power chord is D, A, and D, but you add that A, that lower A on the low E string, that gives you a power chord over the fifth of that power chord. So it just creates this great heaviness. Another way that I like to double my guitar tracks for some real thickness and heft behind them is to use lower inversions. And this involves a little bit of music theory. If you don't know any music theory, check out the link in the description below. I have a free ebook that talks about some really practical concepts that will be really helpful for you, whether you're, whatever instrument you're using. But if you take a D chord, which is D, F sharp, and A, and you just jumble the notes a little bit, that's an inversion basically. So if we're playing our D power chord, which is D, A, and D, and that's starting on the A string of the guitar, if we move down to the E string and pick up the A, the D, and the F sharp, now we've really built a big fat chord between those two guitar parts. Once you have your doubles or your duplicates all panned out, you may find out that you need just a little bit more. And this is where our third methodology comes in, and that's layering. So we can go a step further and add even more chord definition if you feel like you want some more thickness and some more weight behind the guitar sound. One of the ways that I like to do this is using higher inversions. So we talked about lower inversions. You can take that same note jumble. So if you have the notes of a D major, D, F sharp, and A. You can jumble those notes however you want, find them somewhere else higher on the higher strings, say the G, B, and E strings, and add some higher definition to the chords. And what I like to do is actually, so you've got your doubles or your duplicates panned hard left and right, you can run this layer up the center, and now you've got guitars everywhere, which as a guitar player, I'm all for it, but you got to be careful at, don't step on the singer's toes. Once you get all of these pieces into place, you're going to find that they don't all belong all of the time. So you're going to have to chop them up in certain ways. So you may want your power chords over the fifth just for a certain portion, or a high octave just for another portion of the song. And those are decisions that you're going to have to make on a song by song basis. So what I've got coming up next is going to be what I finally came up with for the final arrangement, plus an additional octave layer that I played at the end. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Please hit that subscribe button, leave a comment below. I want to know what you're doing for your guitar stacking, and I'll see you in the next video.